Welcome back, everybody, for more Secret Saturdays Unveiled. As one of my favorite series ever, I featured the Secret Saturdays several times on this channel, and it was actually the first series I even reviewed when I started YouTube about 5 years ago. But I often make the mistake of focusing on Zak and the cryptids, but not the reason Zak or a lot of these adventures exist today. We're gonna talk about Doc and Drew Saturday, the pair's lives before and after meeting, and analyzing their characters overall. But before we start, why not leave a like on the video to show the Saturday spirit, or even think about subscribing after you watch? It all truly does help. Beginning with Doc, or less well known as Solomon Saturday. Born in a small town in Louisiana, Doc's parents, we can assume, either died while he was young or just simply won in his life. At a young age, Doc found himself as an assistant to a Dr. Basil Lancaster, and through his passion for science and cryptology would eventually spring. After presumably going to college for his degree in cryptid science, Doc would meet Drew, and of course, we get Zak. Doc throughout the series comes off as a stern figure, always telling Zak to be smart and keep up with his training. Amongst the family, Doc is probably the one who is the most logical, to the point to where he often clashes with his wife in not only parenting styles, but even scientific ideology. Doc believes that everything has a rational explanation and that nothing just happens. Despite living in a world beyond life, having creatures that could easily break your conception of the world, or even having a wife with a mystic fire sword, Doc is a clearly stubborn man. But in a way, it's his belief in the more grounded aspects of life that do make his character. Doc is incredibly loyal and protective of his friends and family. When Argos stole the Curse Stone, Doc and the other secret scientists assaulted Weird World to get it back. And they did, at the cost of 43 lives of the secret scientists that participated. And even years later, Doc has never forgiven himself for this. I think this is a major reason Doc pushes Zak sparring and even trains with his own son, or even makes him new weapons, because he knows that their lives are dangerous and that Zak needs to be able to defend himself. At one point, Doc even stood toe-to-toe with a mythical cryptid and won. When Zak's childhood antics disturbed an ancient burial ground, the legendary Sul Kulu of Native American lore appeared and began hunting Zak. Even though they got away thanks to Doc, Doc knew they were being hunted. And this is one of the big showcases of Doc's character, in my opinion. Doc knows Sul Kulu is in their house. He finds and faces the cryptid and takes Zak's place as his opponent. Here, Doc doesn't make a commotion or alert Drew or even wake up Zak. He literally takes it to the rooftop away from the family, showing his need to shelter them from obviously what's about to come. Here, Doc has what he described as the hardest fight of his life. Being struck with lightning, clawed, and even losing an eye and his hair pigment, Doc still did beat Sul Kulu, so he went hand to claw against a literal protector of nature and won. So when you think about it, it's amazing Doc is even skeptical of magic and the unexplainable. His main op is the abominable snowman, and he traded blows with essentially a Khajiit, but that's what stubbornness is. Contrary to his stern nature, Doc shows a childlike wonder with every new discovery, whether explained or not. Like most of the secret scientists, Doc has an arsenal of unique gadgets and weaponry that blur the line between science and magic. His signature weapon being the Battle Glove, a high-tech gauntlet that not only enhances his strength, lets him freeze things, start fires, and generate heat, and he can even create sonic vibrations. And looking closer at the glove, I always wonder if this was a reference to the Infinity Gauntlet, but nerdy Easter eggs aside, let's move on to Drew Saturday, or Drew Blackwell. As Doyle's sister, I imagine she shares his same last name unless he chose the name Blackwell as an alias. Drew was tragically separated from Doyle as children when Argos ambushed and murdered their parents. Drew was found in the cold snow by a group of monks and raised as their daughter/disciple until she came of age and left for college. And at some point, she had a bit of a more wild life and even dated Leonidas Van Rook before meeting Doc and building a family. Unlike Doc, Drew believes in magic, the occult, and in general, mysticism. She doesn't need hard evidence to place her belief in things, and as I said earlier, this often has the two engaging in intense debates on cryptozoology and philosophy in general. Drew showcases her monk background as she is always slick, trying to encourage Zak to try alternative methods such as self-care within dance, art, or meditation. Despite that, Drew is, for lack of better words, where Zak gets a lot of his personality. Despite the danger, Drew often throws herself into the middle of a battle and is shown to be just as capable as Doc on the battlefield. Argos even describes her as feisty. She's shown to be adept at some form of martial arts, being able to best train mercenaries in hand-to-hand combat, and wielding a mystical Tibetan fire sword given to her by the monks. Drew is incredibly protective of her son, and by extension, Fix and Komodo, who she calls collectively her boys. Despite her beliefs, Drew often does not actually reflect the ideas or moral ground she teaches Zak, mainly her desire to end Argos and not believing in murder. But it's Argos, so I think we can make exceptions for our moral hangups. Doc and Drew being the parents of our protagonist Zak actually makes a lot more sense when you clearly see that Zak is the best and worst parts of his parents. The easygoing and free-thinking but emotional side of Drew, and the tactile pragmaticism of Doc, coupled with the self-inflicted sense of duty. This dynamic of parenting and mentorship for Zak in the series felt a little overbearing, but it's what makes Zak himself. Maybe it's his hair or how the show constantly showcases the duality of people, animals, and cryptids, but I always felt strong themes of a dual nature of life within the show. Zak was Kurt, so while being a potentially savior of the world, he was equally feared by even cryptids for his ability to destroy it. Without the compelling minds of his parents, who knows what Zak would have grown into? Well, we do know he'd have turned into Zak Monday, or worse. Or, if he learned to actually help cryptids, he could end up ending humans and vice versa. Doc and Drew's parenting is what allows Zak to become his own person in a way, making choices neither of them would make, but still the best choices for him and the world. But with all that finished, I'd like to thank you guys for watching another video here on the Psych Ward. It's always a treat to come back to the Secret Saturdays, whether the cryptids, people, or themes shown, it really never disappoints. But remember, stay sane and stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.